You've probably all heard the song and you know the lyrics. Well, at least some of them. I'm talking about the song Louie, Louie. There's been numerous bands and groups who've covered the song, but the best known cover version belongs to the Kingsmen, who recorded the song in 1963, and it would peak at number 2 on the charts. The Kingsmen originally had no idea how big the song would become when they covered it, and it was originally recorded as an audition tape because the band wanted to get a job working on a cruise ship, but they never got the job that they desired. The song was originally written in 1953 by a person named Richard Berry, and the song's also famous because it's extremely hard to make out what the lyrics are. In fact, it wasn't just the listening public who had trouble making out the lyrics, but the FBI as well. The Bureau spent 2 years investigating the song's lyrics, and you think common sense would tell you to ask the songwriter or the person who sang the lyrics, but the FBI didn't exactly do that. Now, the FBI did get a copy of the published lyrics from the original writer of the song, but they weren't sure whether the Kingsmen had actually changed the lyrics to make the song much more vulgar. Now, Eric Perdol, who was in the process of making a documentary on the history of the song, told National Public Radio, or NPR, that the only reason the FBI investigated the song was because it received numerous letters from worried parents telling the interviewer kids would hear these versions of the song and they would pass around these written notes of what they thought were the lyrics. And parents were concerned and they'd figured, my gosh, this sounds like a dirty song. I don't understand it. Maybe we should have an investigation into this sort of thing. According to the FBI's own website, they claim the FBI was asked to investigate whether or not those involved with the song violated laws against the interstate transportation of obscene material. So the FBI would spend 2 years trying to figure out whether the lyrics were vulgar or not, and the investigation at one point actually looked at the published lyrics to see if they were altered. Now, the Bureau played the song backwards, forwards, and at different speeds, but they couldn't make out what the lyrics were. And this investigation went all the way to the top of the government, including then Attorney General Robert Kennedy and FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who also received letters about the song. Even the governor of Indiana got involved too. One letter addressed to Robert Kennedy read, "This land of ours is headed for an extreme state of moral degradation." Another letter from Sarasota High School complained that the lyrics to the song were so obscene and quoted as saying, "The lyrics are so filthy that I cannot enclose them in this letter," the complaint read. "We all know there is obscene material available for those who seek it." It went on to say, "But when they start sneaking in this material in the guise of the latest teenage rock and roll hit records, these morons have gone too far." Now, even Ben F. Wapple, who was the secretary of the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, would personally send a letter to the label Wand Records, who pressed the Kingsman version of Louie Louie, asking whether inappropriate lyrics were used on the recording or whether it was a malicious attempt on the singer's part to make the song's lyrics difficult to understand, opening it up to interpretation. Now, a lot of people may ask, did the band purposely make it difficult to understand the lyrics, or was it something else? Well, Dick Peterson, who is the drummer for the band and who played on the recording, gave an interview recently where he talked about how the way they recorded the song really contributed to the lyrics being difficult to understand. Here's what he had to say.
Was it done on the first take at Northwest Recorders?
Actually, no. It was done on the second take.
Two takes.
It was a $36 recording session. It was actually recorded to be an audition tape on a cruise ship, and the band didn't get the cruise ship job. But Ken Chase, who worked at Kiss and Radio,
right, well, one of the original jobs,
47th anniversary, he actually was producing, if you want to call what he was doing, producing the session. And he thought the vocal was too loud, and he wanted everything louder than everything else, and so he was the one that was really responsible for putting the microphone up too high, and so you really couldn't hear Jack's voice. And it was a pretty comical session. I chronicle that in the book quite a bit too.
The most ironic and funniest thing of this entire investigation is that the Kingsman version of Louie Louie did have an obscenity on it that no one else picked up on, including the FBI. If you listen to the song, at the 54-second mark, it was the band's drummer who drops his drumstick and yells the F word. If you listen closely, you can clearly hear it. So whatever happened to the original writer of the song, Richard Berry? You would think he had a pretty easy life, recording one of the most recognizable and most played songs in history, but that wasn't the case. Even though the song has been recorded over 1,000 times, Berry sold his publishing for the song for only $750 to pay for his wedding. And that was in 1959. Berry would tell an interviewer in 1993, "Everybody sold their songs in those days. I was never bitter with the record companies. They provided a vehicle for 5 young black dudes to make a record. But by the mid-80s, Barry was living on welfare with his mother when his luck suddenly changed. California Cooler, who was a drinks company, wanted to use the song Louie Louie in a commercial, and they needed his signature to use the song. The company asked the Artists' Right Society to find Barry, and he would soon be visited by a lawyer. And the lawyer brought up that he could get the rights back to the song. And the music publisher would end up settling out of court with Barry, basically making him a millionaire overnight. He would pass away in 1997, but he would die a very rich man. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And as always, if you have any suggestions for stuff you'd like to see me cover in the future, shoot me an email at gnrcentralnews@gmail.com. And you guys can also support my channel on Patreon. The link is down below. Take care.